Good afternoon, everyone. COE RIMS welcomes all the participants for today's RDLS session. Today's topic is comprehensive guidance on viral load testing in PLHIV under NACP. This topic or this RDLS is covered based on NACO-OM. The speaker today is Dr. T. Jeeten Kumar Singh, sir. Sir is currently working as a professor with the Department of Medicine at RIMS Imphal. He is the former Deputy Program Director of the Center of Excellence in HIV Care at RIMS Imphal. He has published more than 50 papers in national and international journals, and he is a master trainer for NACO trainings conducted for various cadres. He has spearheaded the Institutional Universal Work Precaution Campaign. We welcome you, sir, for today's session and request you to start the session.
Thank you. Very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the RDLS. Today, I'll be talking on the topic comprehensive guidance on viral load testing in PLHIV under NACP. Next slide. Next slide is not clear.
Click on the side and next button.
Yeah, at the outset, I would like to acknowledge the effort made by Tech India, Dr. Bhavani Singh Kushwa of NACO, and Dr. Resu Agrawal, WHO India, for the effort they have made in preparing this scientific piece for our discussion today. ART, as we all know, has transformed the way we thought about HIV. So it has become a manageable, chronically manageable disease like diabetes or hypertension. So ART initiation, the timely initiation is very, very important. Now we know that it is not only ART initiation that is important, but also monitoring. Once the patient is being put on ART, regular monitoring of the response of the therapy, and then take appropriate measures, appropriate decision about the response, understanding the response of the treatment, and then take appropriate measures in terms of changing or switching over the regime. So that is the importance of the viral load, because in the early days of epidemic, we remember viral load was something beyond our reach that was there in mind, because we were depending mainly on the clinical response. We were depending on the CD4, that is immunological response. And in the beginning of the epidemic, as I said earlier, viral load was something which was beyond the thing of our comprehension. But then we are now very lucky that we have in the program the facility, the provision of viral load, which is considered to be the gold standard in terms of establishing the response of the ART, and then decide whether the patient has failed the regime, and then take appropriate remedial measure. So in that regard, the viral load is very, very important. So viral load as such, when it is to be done, where it is to be done, how it is to be done, how we have to read the report of the viral load, because viral load report cannot only be the figure that we have in the paper. It has to be defined. The number has to be defined in the light of the conditions, because it is not only the number that matters, but the underlying clinical condition of the patient. And then, of course, it will come in the appropriate time in the subsequent slides, how a very good adherence, enhanced adherence counseling can bring about a change in the viral load status. And that way, defer unnecessary switch of the regime. Therefore, all these factors are of importance, and then to ensure effective antiretroviral therapy for the PLHIVs. So essentially, today's discussion centers around, is based on the foundation of this particular memo that was served on 2nd of the May 2024, so-called comprehensive guidance on viral load testing in PLHIV under NACP. So to a great extent, this official memo will give us the information as to what are the different perspectives that we have to fulfill in terms of our engagement with the viral load testing. Timing of routine viral load testing has been defined for all new PLHIV initiated on ART. Viral load testing should be done at the end of 6 months, in 12 months of ART initiation. And thereafter, it should be done annually. This is clear-cut. The guidance should be followed for all PLHIV on first-line ART, irrespective of their treatment adherence level. That was for the first-line ART. And for those patients on second or third-line ART, viral load tests should be done every 6 months. We cannot afford to waste time for patients who are already on second and third line. So viral load tests should be done every 6 months to define whether the patient is doing well, the ART is working well with the patient on second or the third line ART. For those patients, HIV positive pregnant women, because there is a thing called mother to child transmission. And we also know that U is equal to U. Undetectable or very low viral load level will have a positive impact on the overall transmission, the chance of transmission of the virus from the mother to the child. So the viral load testing should be done during 32 to 36 weeks of pregnancy. And let us remember, this is regardless of duration of the antiretroviral therapy the patient has been initiated with, if any, and previous viral load schedule. No matter what viral load schedule patient might have undergone, but at least once a patient is pregnant, and then within 32 to 36 weeks, we need to determine the risk of HIV transmission to newborn by measuring the viral load testing. Any PLHIV who has completed at least 6 months on ART and not undergone viral load tests for any reason whatsoever, they should be prioritized for viral load testing irrespective of adherence. ART medical officers may request for additional viral because clinically sometimes it so requires that beyond the schedule, patients might develop some clinical situation. This is a little aberrant from the usual kind of a thing, and that may cross over the schedule viral load testing that is being given in the guidelines. So depending upon the clinical context, developing clinical situation, ART medical officer may request for additional viral load tests based on the discretion, the clinical discretion. Now, second part is the timing of viral load tests for PLHIV with unsuppressed viral load. Timing of viral load tests for PLHIV with unsuppressed viral. So when we talk about unsuppressed viral load, we said that we mean it is more than 1,000 copies per ml. For those PLHIV undergoing enhanced adherence counseling, if the adherence is more than 95% in each of the 3 consecutive months, then viral load test should be repeated after the 3 months of enhanced adherence counseling. For those PLHIVs, enhanced adherence counseling 3 months, and each month should have the adherence, recorded adherence more than 95%. Then we can go ahead with the repeat viral load after 3 months of enhanced adherence counseling 1. If the adherence calculated as per the guideline provided is less than 95% in any month during enhanced adherence counseling, that means patient is not adhering. The reason may be there while we are trying to address the issue, trying to find out the cause of the adherence, the period of the adherence. But as far as the viral load testing is concerned, then we will not be going for the viral load straight away after the 3 months. Then viral load test should be now done after 3 additional months of enhanced adherence counseling number 2. So we have what we call as enhanced adherence 1, part 1, enhanced adherence counseling part 2. Then in the part 2, after the part 2, we will not like the patient to be lingering on with their failed regime, maybe perhaps, and then we must go for irrespective of the adherence level. By now, after the second enhanced adherence counseling, even if the patient is scoring less than 95%, then we must go for the viral load testing. After enhanced adherence counseling number 1, enhanced adherence counseling number 2, If repeat viral load is more than 1,000, that is a defining level, more than 1,000, because studies have said that 1,000, if it is more than 1,000, the chance of transmission and chance of this resistance is more. If it is less than 1,000, the chance of resistant transmission is less. That is the reason why we take 1,000 as a cutoff point. Then if the patient viral load report is more than 1,000, it shows that we have a problem in here. Then refer the case for SASEP review, because SASEP will review the overall evaluation of the history of the patient will be evaluated. Adherence will be re-examined and reassessed. And then clinical issues will be described, and then try to understand the clinical overall context so that the patient is given necessary support, necessary management, necessary investigation, and then we try to unnecessarily switching of the molecule to the second line or third line is best avoided. And then if it is really serving the definition of the failure, then we go for the recommendation, the second or the third line ART. So that way, SASEP has a big role in defining and redefining failure in these type of patients when they are referred with patients with viral load more than 1,000. The third point is PLHIV who are tracked back after being lost to follow. We know that lost to follow, missed cases and lost to follow are a special group of patients. We need to deal with this group of patients, track back the LFU cases, and then there should be offered early enhanced adherence counseling. And then viral test should be done after the third month of enhanced adherence counseling, irrespective of the adherence level and previous viral load schedule. If the repeat viral load is more than 1,000, as I said earlier, then enhanced adherence counseling should be continued. We continue to look for the barriers of adherence and then try to address those issues in the meantime, while simultaneously addressing the barriers of treatment adherence. And then if the viral load is more than 1,000, then this also should be taken care of. For ready reference, revised viral load testing algorithm format for listing of unsuppressed viral load is SASEP referred and step up adherence counseling. And then should be enclosed. SASEP, state aids control society are requested to ensure implementation of these above guidelines on viral load testing on all ART centers. Capacity building of this staff should also be undertaken in due course of time. So this being the foundation of our entire discussion this afternoon, let us also have a real look on the updated viral load testing algorithm that is provided along with this memo. So conduct the viral load test at this scheduled duration. If the viral load is less than 1,000 copies per ml, we continue the same ART regime, and routine monitoring, of course, should follow. If the schedule, as per the schedule, the viral load report comes, viral load is more than 1,000 copies, counselor to provide enhanced adherence counseling to patients for 3 months. If adherence in last 3 months is less than 95%, provide the second round enhanced adherence counseling to patient for 3 months through a different counselor. Should be remember, the first one, 3 months, we always try with the individual counselor, the same counselor to maintain continuity. But in case of the enhanced adherence counseling number 2, for 3 months, we try, we give it, we serve it, we deliver it through a different counsel under the supervision of the MO or the Center Medical Officer. We conduct the viral test irrespective of adherence level, irrespective of the adherence, because we don't want to prolong, keep the fail reason if it is there, lingering for a long period of time. So if the viral load report comes as less than 1,000, very good for everyone, for the patient, and then we should allow the patient to continue the same regime and continue monitoring the patient. If the patient's viral load turns out to be more than 1,000 in spite of the early adherence counseling 1 and 2, then if it is more than 1,000, patients should be referred to the SASEP for further evaluation. Now, patient is referred to SASEP for not simply for changing, but for further evaluation. We will see whether the viral load report will be read in the context of the clinical and the adherence status of the patient. If the adherence in the last 3 months is more than 95%, conduct the viral load after the enhanced adherence council number 1. Then if it is less than 1,000, simple route, continue the same ART regime and routine monitoring. If it is more than 1,000 copies, then it will be referred to the SASE for the necessary steps. So understanding that memo is very, very important, and then apply and put into task, put into practice the soul, the essence of the memo is very, very essential. So let us try to understand whether we have been able to understand the implications, we have been able to understand the information that is being delivered, that is being communicated in that memo. So let us try to understand this in the format of some polls. We'll be setting some problem questions, and then we try to stimulate our mind ourselves, and then we try to find the answer. And while we are trying to find the answer, we will be provided with some clinical the information, scientific information, and perhaps with that we will be able to understand the context a little more clearly. So we start with the first poll. That is, as per my understanding, the main purpose of viral load testing is, this is the poll number 1. So let us try to answer this.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please.
Participants are requested, they can click the answer on their screen. Please attempt the e-poll. We have 7 e-polls in all. Requesting all the participants to attend the e-poll. So we'll display the e-poll for 1 minute. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Yeah. We'll end the e-poll now. So please continue.
Please, thank you. Share exemption. Yeah. So they accept it. Yeah, this is the next. So I think this routine viral load monitoring under NACP, plasma viral load testing, is done to monitor the treatment response for PLHIV with HIV-1 infection. Because HIV-2 infection, we don't as yet go for the viral load. We monitor them with CD4 count in the clinical response as of now. But for the HIV-1 infection, all PLHIVs with HIV-1 and HIV-1 and 2 co-infected patients who are on ART for at least 6 months, okay, then we should undergo routine viral load monitoring. That is for the monitoring the treatment response of the PLHIV. Now we go for the poll number 2. What is the frequency of viral load testing among PLHIV on first-line ART? It was very clearly spelled out in the office memorandums 2/5/2024. So it should not be a difficult one. So we start the poll number 2.
So we'll end the e-poll now. You can tell the answers after the slide.
So every 6 months is for the second and third. And number C, that is for the first line. The question here is for the first line, it's 6 months and 12 months after ART initiation and thereafter annually. Every 6 months is for the patients on second line and the third line. So majority of the participants, they answered correctly. Now we will go for the third part. What is the scheduled frequency of viral load testing in PLHIV on second and third line ART? This should be a simple one. We start the poll now. Yo, we are scoring 100% now. Yes. Yes. Really. So can we close the poll now? Number 3.
Done, sir.
Yeah. So the good news is 88% of the participants, they have answered correctly. That is every 6 months. So congratulations to all the participants who have answered correctly. And for those also who have attempted well. So we go for the next one. Poll 4. Why an additional viral load is required for pregnant women between 32 to 36 weeks of pregnancy? Additional viral load, 32 to 36 weeks of pregnancy, irrespective of the earlier viral load schedule. So the poll is on. I think it is done now.
So we have ended the poll.
So 92% have answered correctly. That is to decide appropriate infant prophylaxis. U is equal to U. The lesser the viral load, then the chance of transmission is less. So that is the change. So number C, to decide appropriate infant prophylaxis. Right. So the viral load testing schedule. So let us recapitulate, and maybe we will again be revisiting some of the contents of some of the questions, some of the polls, that the problem statements that we presented. People living with HIV on first line ART, timing of viral load test is at 6 months and 12 months after ART initiation and thereafter annually. Very, very clear. PLHIV on second line ART every 6 months after initiation of second or third line ART. The guidance should be followed for all PLHIV irrespective of their treatment adherence level. Very, very clear. Plasma viral load testing is recommended for all HIV positive pregnant women during 32 to 36 weeks of pregnancy, regardless of the duration of the ART or the previous viral load, settled viral load level, to determine the risk of HIV transmission to the baby. All PLHIV transition, that is substituted or switch, it should be done at 6 months, 12 months, and then annually in PLHIV on the first line, and for the second and third line patients every 6 months. ART center medical officer may request for additional testing based on the clinical discussion. So clinical interpretation of the viral load report, it matters because we take that these 1000 copies per ml is the sacrosanct level. This will define whether patient will go for the new regime or patient will be kept in the old regime. Because studies have said, as I mentioned earlier, that if it is less than 1000 copies per ml, the chance of transmission is very, very less. The chance of transmission. And the main goal of the antiretroviral therapy is to keep the viral load suppressed for as long duration as possible. So that is a very ideal goal of ART as such regime drugs. So if we are able to maintain the viral load less than 1000 for a period of time, for a long period of time, the chance of progression to age and transmission is also decreased. So let us recapitulate. If the viral load is more than 1000 copies, then probably the virus is not suppressed. ART may be working, but patient is not taking it properly. So the message the virus is not suppressed. Then maybe the ART may be working, but patient is not taking it properly. It's a question of adherence. Another situation is ART may not be working. This we need to define. We need to define due to resistance or treatment failure. ART may not be. So this patient really requires switch of therapy. So if it is more than 1000. If the viral was less than 1000 copies, we find some viruses still there, detectable. But if it is less than 1000, the virus is not of suppress. So we can take the ART is working. So we have to continue the current regime. We have to continue the current regime, but keep monitoring as part of schedule viral testing, the schedule that is being provided. If it is undetectable, that is TND, virus is undetectable. That means ART is working and no measurable virus is there. U is equal to zero. U, that is zero risk of transmission to sexual partners. And there is minimal risk. Let us take it that way, minimal risk of mother to child transmission. It does not mean that HIV has totally disappeared from the individual. HIV is still present in reservoir. This should be made understood to the patients also. So for these patients, we must continue current treatment regime. Now we pick up the poll number 5. That is for PLHIV on ART for more than 6 months with adherence less than 95%. Okay, when should the routine viral load test be done?
So we are ending e-poll.
So there is still some misunderstanding. As per schedule, irrespective of the adherence, it should be done. When should the routine viral load test be done? As per the schedule. And in case of the patients for whom the early adherence counseling is required, early adherence counseling is done for 3 months. If the adherence in any of these 3 months is less than 95%, then we defer the viral load testing for another 3 months, during which we go for the enhanced adherence counseling. Then only we go for the viral. But for those patients on ART, more than 6 months with adherence less than 90%, routine as per schedule, irrespective of the adherence, should be done. So viral load testing among PLHIV on ART with adherence less than 95%. The memo is very, very clear on this. For PLHIV on ART, more than 6 months with adherence less than 95%. When should the viral load test be done? Routine testing should be done as per schedule. Let us be very, very clear on this, irrespective of adherence. So those who have never been tested for viral load, any PLHIV who have completed at least 6 months of ART and not being done the viral load testing, then these patients should be prioritized for viral load testing, irrespective of adherence to treatment. So viral load testing algorithm, that is recapitulate, it was there in 2021, still holds true. Conduct the viral loads as per schedule. If it is less than 1,000, continue the same ART. If it is more than 1,000, step-up counseling is to be done for 3 months. And then we check the adherence. If it is more than 95%, then we go for the viral load test number 2. Then if it is less than 1,000, then continue the same regime. If it is more than 1,000, we will go for the SASEP route, e-referral to SASEP for further evaluation. Now, if the adherence in the last month of 3 months is less than, if it is less than 90%, then we will have another link in the subsequent slides. But to 2021, the step of counseling will have to be repeated again. So frequently asked questions, some of them, for patients with unsuppressed viral load, how long enhanced adherence counseling session be continued if adherence continues to remain less than 95% and timing of repeat viral load test and subset referral in such cases. Poll number 6. In your opinion, adherence would be better among PLHIV on first line or PLHIV on second or the third line?
Requesting all the participants to attempt the e-poll.
In your opinion, adherence would be better among first line or the second line PLHIV. PLHIV on first line, PLHIV on second line, or the third line ART.
So we have ended the e-poll.
So 67% thinks that PLHIV on first line, the adherence will be better, but second and third line, 33%. So patients on second or the third line should be undergoing the enhanced adherence counseling, and some of them might have undergone 2 times. So second and third line should definitely have. But then the adherence is such a big issue because once the variance of adherence is not detected, because every individual who has got poor adherence has his own kind of a specific issue. So these issues are highly different from region to region, from person to person, so highly variable dynamic. So anyway, 66% of the people said that PLHIV on first line, the adherence would be better, and PLHIV on second and the third line, the adherence was just about 33%. So viral load testing algorithm that we have already discussed, conduct viral load at scheduled duration less than 1,000, we continue the regime. And if it is more than 1,000, enhanced step-up adherence counseling will be done. And 3 months adherence recording should be there. If it is yes, conduct the viral load. And then 1,000 is still the magic figure. If it is less than 1,000, continue the regime. If it is more than 1,000, then we must go for referral to SASEP, e-referral. So in the 2021, the step-up counseling was repeated. Okay, if the adherence counseling adherence was less than 95%. The difference that we are able to observe, the algorithm that was given served in 2021, the algorithm that we have in 2024 is a little more defined now. So other things are okay. As per schedule duration, we will be going. If it is less than 1,000, the target of 1,000 remains the same, and then continue the ART regime. And of course, routine monitoring testing will be there. The changes that is being provided here is if it is more than 1,000, counselor to provide enhanced adherence counseling to patients for 3 months. That is enhanced adherence counseling number 1. Now, if the adherence counseling in the last 3 months is less than 95%, we cover the enhanced adherence counseling, what we call as number 2, to the patient for 3 months through a different counselor. Usually, the guideline was that for the enhanced adherence counseling number 1, we usually propose that the single counselor should follow up the patient or for the adherence counseling. But to ensure completeness and then specific issues can be further followed up in the subsequent visits. And in case of the enhanced adherence counseling, the recommendation is that it is to be done through a different counselor under the direct observation, under the direct monitoring of the SMO or the medical officer. Then whether the adherence counseling is less than 95, more than 90 immaterial of it, after the enhanced adherence counseling number 2, we conducted viral load testing irrespective of adherence level. If it is less than 1,000, we continue the regime, continue monitoring testing. If it is more than 1,000 in spite of the enhanced adherence counseling number 2, then e-referred to SASEP for further evaluation, that is either change the drug or again ask for some specific enhanced adherence counseling or specific adherence counseling may be further kind of applied and suggested. Now, if after the enhanced adherence counseling number 1, adherence in the last 3 months is more than 95%, then we don't need to go for the enhanced adherence counseling number 2. For these patients, we take up the route. If it is less than 1,000 copies, continue the ART regime and routine monitoring testing. If it is more than 1,000, we refer it to the SASEP is the next step. So what is essentially the updated, what is essentially the core change that has been proposed in the 2024 is the enhanced adherence counseling number 2 is being given a much emphasis to the patient through a different counselor under the direct supervision and monitoring of the SMO and the MO, and irrespective of the adherence level at the end of the ESC2, we go for the viral load, and accordingly, we go for the SASEP referral. What does additionality in viral load algorithm aim for? This algorithm aims for better defined processes, better for management of PLHIV with unsuppressed viral load. Then we improve the quality of enhanced adherence counseling. We will come to know in subsequent slides, in one of the beautiful slides, that those patients, a good huge chunk of patients with more than viral load, more than 1,000, after all these enhanced adherence counseling 1 and 2, ultimately they were very minimum of these patients were really requiring switch of the therapy. That means if we improve the quality of enhanced adherence counseling, I think much of the people who are showing high viral load may be saved from early inappropriate switch of the ART regime. Make enhanced adherence counseling more effective and solution-oriented. Unless we cannot be seeking for enhancement of the adherence without really addressing the core issue of the patients, maybe a distance, maybe time, maybe other issues, maybe financial, maybe other social issues, maybe. So geographical issues also can be there. So unless, as I said earlier, adherence is such a big issue, and every individual has his or her own specific problem, and we must try to keep a treatment management plan for each of these adherence barriers, not to keep the adherence issue lingering for long, expanding access to adherence interventions. So we should not be allowing adherence issues, the barriers of the adherence, linger for a long period of time, because it will not do anything good for the patient and good for the program as well. Engagement of the ART team, particularly the MO and the SMO, in ensuring viral load suppression from the very beginning. The involvement of the SMO and the MO is a core change that has been made and emphasized very, very correctly in the memo as far as the offering the enhanced adherence counseling is concerned. So in a way, the fine balancing so that unnecessary switches can be avoided, but at the same time, continuation of the PLHIV on a failing regime is not unduly preferred. It is not easy. It is not easy, but we should always be going very, very carefully between these two lines for a good ART outcome. We also want to ensure that unnecessary injudicious switches are avoided. Not all unsuppressed PLHIV will be benefited by switch in ART regime. Otherwise, a pharmacy will take all the call, all the decision based on the laboratory technician will take all the call. So we need to understand and then interpret from the clinical context, from all possible perspectives. The figures that we have, the viral load figure of 1,000 is not everything. So we need to define the clinical context and ultimately keep in mind that not all unsuppressed PLHIV will be benefited by switching ART regime. Purpose of referral to SACEP is for the very reason to define this in-depth review into adherence and the clinical issues. There may be clinical issues that is hampering the suppression of the virus, maybe because concomitant drugs patient may be taking for some of the comorbid conditions also. So all those in-depth review, evaluation, and analysis will have to be done, and then ultimately give a meaningful interpretation of the valid report the patient has got, and not an immediate or unnecessary switches. Okay, when a switch is avoided, different set of providers. So these different set of providers will always see different perspectives. So this also aids to the benefit for all the stakeholders. Viral load non-suppression, that is ART failure, recent evidence of DTZ is such a drug now. It is really the spine of the present ongoing ART regime. In a systematic analysis, it's very, very reassuring that 1.6% among ART experienced people living with HIV with unsuppressed viral load before transition. And less than 0.1% among ART naive or ART experienced PLHIV with suppressed viral load. Highly reassuring finding. So key quality of care indicators include on-time ART pickup should be ensured, the retention on ART, viral load testing coverage, timely second viral load test, and viral suppression. So in our context, in today's discussion, timely second viral load test is very, very important to define the response of the ART. Possible reasons for unsuppressed viral load. This slide is very, very important in the sense that the causes. So overall, for adherence to ART, we always shout and loud for the adherence, improve the adherence, but not really taking the barriers, address the barriers would be meaningless. So not taking ART regularly as prescribed is one of the reasons. On-time pill pickup is irregular, and miss and LFU is a problem for us. Suboptimal intake of ARBs, patient may be taking, but then due to change in daily doses, frequency or timing may be altered, or adverse effect, particularly in PLHIV, who are not on single fixed dose combination. So adherence may be suboptimal in this thing, and then cumulatively in the long run, it can also have an impact on the unsuppressed viral load status. Suboptimal absorption and bioavailability of DTZ is such a good drug, very effective drug. At the same time, let us be mindful of the drug-drug interactions which this drug can have with concomitant medication. We as a human being, we have other drugs as well. We use for a comorbid condition and just to maintain our health in our day-to-day life. Polyvalent cation products containing aluminum, calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc, for example, antacids in supplements. We must make sure that administer DTZ at least 2 hours before or at least 6 hours after such formulation. Otherwise, the outcome is going to be something on the negative side. Let us be mindful in our country where the tubercular infection is very, very much rampant. We use rifampicin, and rifampicin containing anti-TB treatment. Let us not forget, let us ensure that additional dose of 50 milligram on top of the 50 milligram once daily usual dose, routine dose of DTZ, we must add another 50 milligram is provided, whether patient is, if PLHIV is taking this additional dose as prescribed, also should be checked. This is a very good slide, as I had alluded to in my earlier remark. See, adequate and good early enhanced adherence counseling helps avoiding switches in majority. So one of times, so we will briefly discuss this. Patients are found with viral load more than 1,000. And as going by a simple description, it is going towards the failure. We should not be switching this immediately because these patients are being given this early enhanced adherence counseling. Then these people, 94% of them completed enhanced adherence counseling. Repeat viral load test was done in about 80% of these people. And then what we found is that repeat viral load test result more than 1,000 was just in 15%, right? And viral load less than 1,000 after this exercise of enhanced adherence counseling, it has gone down to the. So 29% of them are being referred to SASEP, and 102 out of these 102 are actually recommended for second line. This slide tells us a story that if the viral load is more than 1,000, we should not be in a hurry. We should not jump the gun. We should go for the enhanced adherence counseling, 1, 2, effectively, and then go for the adherence issues, solve those adherence issues, try to overcome the barriers, then repeat, and then go for the SASEP. And once it is referred to the SASEP, SASEP will do the groundwork, try and go inside the more in detail regarding the adherence issues, the clinical context, the overall comorbid condition. Then ultimately they will decide whether the patient deserves to be switched to another agent. So this is the kind of magnitude of the problem that we can understand. By undergoing this step, we can save many patients and we can avoid switches of the regime. On-time pill pickup and viral load suppression. Very simple. PLHIV unsuppressed 7,753. And we found that on-time pill pickup only in 15. Those who are not picking up well in time, 88% will have this problem. So meaning hereby the on-time pill pickup is also very important. SOP for management of PLHIV and suppressed viral load, enhanced adherence counseling. Now we are going towards the important component of enhanced adherence counseling. When viral load test report is available, line list of this unsuppressed viral load should be done on daily basis and shared with counselor, delivering services under packages, and telephonically follow up PLHIV with unsuppressed viral. Telephonically follow up the PLHIV. Then step up counseling should be done for a minimum of 3 months that we have discussed. Additional sessions should be conducted as per need, as needed. Counselors should provide intensive support to improve adherence and focus on identifying barriers. Identifying barriers is very, very important. It's simply not giving some sermon, but about identifying the barriers and try and provide solution. We try to suggest solution. Okay. All enhanced adherence counseling sessions should be taken by the same counsel. This was what I was alluding to when reading the previous slide, so that he or she acts as a case manager to ensure consistency of approach, continuity, and issue resolution with proper documentation instead of counseling, which is a little different from the enhanced adherence counseling number 2, where the proposal is to be done by another counselor. Sessions may be planned at 15 days or 1 month as deemed fit by the counselor. Sessions should be conducted when the patient visits as far as possible. Try not to trouble the patient in his or her daily pursuit. We try to offer this session when patient visits to collect his or her medication. Counselors should use the ready reckoner and the ESC form to facilitate the process. During the step of counseling, HIV testing of the spouse and the partner and the children should also be facilitated. Very important line that involvement of the MO or the SMO is to be ensured right from the beginning of the enhanced adherence counseling. This will improve the outcome. Issues such as clinical condition will be, because the doctor will be better equipped to deal with this situation. Concomitant medication, as we all know, is a problem. Partial adherence should also be looked into, that is, as they may interfere in the uptake as well as the bioavailability of the drugs that is being given. Ready reckoner for step of counseling is session 1, 2, and 3. What are the things that we plan in the session 1? Assess adherence, explain the result, and then patient's knowledge should also be assessed regarding the adherence viral load. Support system should also be assessed. Then we try to identify the barriers of adherence, like side effect, depression, addiction, example, and patient's motivation to stay healthy in life should also be studied and discussed with the patient in developing an adherence plan, which addresses the identified issues, remind him or her about the next appointment. Session 2 is a little different. Then in session 2, we assess the adherence since last visit. What is the development? What is the improvement in this? Appreciate if adherence is optimal. We don't just let it go like that. Oh, adherence has improved. So try to appreciate the patient. Review if strategies accepted in the previous sessions were implemented or not. Discuss any new obstacle they might have cropped in between. Modify the adherence plan to tackle the identified issues. This should be there always in all the steps. And then let us not forget reminding the next day. Session 3, again, we assess the adherence since the last visit. Appreciate the good work done by the patient in terms of the adherence, if it is optimal. Review the strategies accepted in the previous session were implemented or not. Modify the plan according to the new identified issues. If adherence is not adequate, plan further sessions with the patient. And let us again not forget reminding him of the next due date and the viral load repeat test schedule. Plan of next viral load is if adherence more than 95%, then plan a viral load test. If adherence is not adequate, plan further session with the patient before repeating viral load test. So session after repeat viral load, now viral load has been done. If the viral is less than 1,000, very good. Appreciate his or her success during scheduled visit and advise to continue the current regime. Next viral load test to be done as part of guidelines. Now situation is if the viral load is more than 1,000, naturally the patient should be referred to the SASE within 2 days of receiving viral load report. Should not waste time. Within 2 days of receiving viral load report, patient should be sent. E-referral should be done to the SASE without waiting for the patient to come. SASE should review the case and share the recommendation with ART center within 1 week of referral. We must make sure that we take a decision within 1 week of the referral. Time matters. Simultaneously, patients should be informed to come back to ART center, and in the meantime, same regime to be continued. We should remind the patient that you need to continue the regime until switch of the regime is advised. PLHIVs are recommended for change in regime by SASE should be switched as soon as the SASE recommendations are available. So these are some of the ready reckoner. So for the session 1, these things are given, the particulars of the patient, and understand the patient's understanding and the support system. We try to find out the barriers, different barriers, patient forgets, long wait, fear of disclosure, drug stock out. These are some of the barriers that we should try to find out. The interventions in terms of the services like counseling, and then treatment buddy, need-based referrals, peer support, and then of course the tools, written instructions, phone calls, SMS, calendar example. So then again, we remind the patient the goal to achieve suppressed viral load. The adherence plan should also be spelled out. And then let us not forget the next step of the counseling. Session number 2 is assess the adherence since last visit. And if the adherence more than 95%, let us appreciate the patient and motivate him or her. And then where strategies discussed in section 1 was implemented or not. This also should be recorded. Barriers should always be tried to find out the barriers, and then interventions, what are the interventions patient has, tools that is being recommended, and then remind the goal to achieve suppress viral load. The overall adherence plan should also be spelled out, and then next due that for the visit ART visit should also be recorded. So check the patient treatment adherence again and record it in the white card on regular basis. So this is about the session 2. Session 3 is again review the patient adherence between the second and the third. If it is more than 95%, we appreciate the patient, and any emerging issues or gaps in between should also be discussed. So barriers should be found out, interventions should be sought out, and so also the tools. And always we need to remind the patient about the need, the goal to achieve suppressed viral. Decide next course of action based on adherence. If the adherence more than 95%, after session 3, by and large, we will be covering the ESC 1 by this time. So if the adherence is more than 95%, what do we do for 3 consecutive months? Repeat the viral load test now. He or she is eligible to go for the repeat viral. If the report is less than 1,000, very good. Appreciate the patient, and then we should continue the treatment, the current regime, and repeat the viral load as part of it. The problem is if the viral is more than 1,000, we refer to SASE. If the adherence is less than 95%, then plan further session with the patient before repeating the viral test. So this is line listing of PLHIV with unsuppressed viral load. All these different index are being given, serial number, and then the age, gender, and viral load, adherence level, step of counseling, session 1 and the adherence, session 2 and the adherence, session 3 and the adherence, and then step of counseling has been completed or not, and then date of repeat viral load tests, and then viral load count, what we found in terms of the figures. Then we refer the case to SASEP if unsuppressed as per the second viral load. Date of review by the SASEP should also be recorded, and SASEP recommendation whether there is a switch, continuing the same regime, or part 2 COE or step of counseling. Date of start of the second and the third line ERT should also be line listed. Differentiated care for unstable PLHIV. PLHIV with poor adherence to ART. For example, if poor adherence mainly due to barriers that make routine clinical visits challenging, such as long distance travel to ERs, financial reason, non-availability of caregiver to accompany, conflicting time with school or the work schedule, office schedule. Maybe one of the solutions is link these patients to LSCs in order to enhance adherence and retention on a case-to-case basis. Every problem, every individual has his or her own specific problem. And based on that, and one of the remedial measure for some of the suggested problems could be linking to the LSCs. However, the rigorous follow mechanism of this PLHIV LSC should be done. Community-based sites such as CSC, target intervention, community-based organization, NGOs may be preferred in a situation in such scenario with flexibility and support, additional support. They may be able to remain in care and on treatment and may benefit the most from DSD activities, differentiated care for unstable PLHIVs. SOP for PLHIV with less than 98% despite EAC1, in case adherence does not improve to more than 95% after 3 sessions, EAC to be continued for another 3 months. Enhanced strategies such as counseling by different counselor that has been discussed, and direct supervision of MO or SMO, and then continue daily telephonic follow-up. Keep in touch with the patient. Home visits through CSC for outreach worker to be followed for another treatment. Intense kind of a counseling session. Barriers for poor adherence to treatment should be identified again and addressed. SMO, MO should provide special attention to this PLHIV. PLHIV undergoing enhanced adherence counseling number 2 should be rigorously followed for the ART counselor through phone calls, and also seek support of CSC for follow-up such cases to ensure treatment adherence. It is very intense effort where the MO and the SMO will take center stage in implementing the recommendations. Viral load test should be done after completion of the ESC. Let us not forget, irrespective of adherence. If viral load is less than 1,000, very good again. Continue the same regime. Keep following up for adherence. Repeat the viral load as per the cell. Now, if the viral load is more than 1,000, irreparable to SASEP is allowed. SOP for PLHIV with unsuppressed repeat viral load. If PLHIV viral load stays unsuppressed as per the repeat viral load testing after ESC, then all these unsuppressed PLHIVs should undergo in-depth review by SASEP, in-depth review by SASEP, including a dialogue with the PLHIV, including a dialogue, some kind of a connection, if not physical. Best thing would be a physical appearance. But then if it is not possible, still an online, because these days we have different platforms, that also could be exploited. So a kind of a contact, a kind of a dialogue with the patient would do well. SASEP should reassess for adherence or other barriers with a more focused approach. The word is more focused approach. They describe in person, using virtual platform, yes, telephonically. Complete history of any barriers. Complete history on personal habits or addictions. Look for any OI, infection may be just, creating the problem. So we must deal with these patients in this perspective. Mental health may be an issue. Any concomitant medication which may interfere with the drug exposure and absorption environment. If the PLHIV is non-adherent or on any other concomitant medication, provide in-depth and focused adherence. I think adherence counseling is very, very important. The way how we conduct is all that matters. So adherence counseling number 1, adherence counseling number 2, and more in-depth focused adherence counseling. It is adherence counseling after all, but then the depth and the focus that we follow, we adhere to, I think that determines the ultimate kind of output or the outcome of the adherence counseling. In case any barriers to adherence are identified, weekly follow-up needs to be done with these PLHIV who are put back on ESC by Shasen. So the follow-up is even more frequent. Weekly, we don't let it go easily. Weekly, we follow up the needs to be done with this PLHIV who are put back on ESC by Shasen. If adherence to ART is more than 95%, appropriate ART switch may be planned. Tracking of missed appointments from above. Patient misses a clinic appointment, will pick up daily miss list from the above general list of patients who are supposed to come the previous day. Data manager will have to do the work at the end of the day. Share this list with SMO in successful distribution of the phone. Follow-up amongst the staff, maybe care coordinator, counselors, nurse, or the laboratory technician, based on category of the patient number of the PLHIV to be conducted. Everyone has a role there. Respective staff shall contact the patient within 24 hours through phone call. Document all contacts. We need to document the contacts and all outcomes in the live list. List of following categories of patients to be shared with care support center for follow-up and home visits by data manager. Data manager has to play a very important role here. PLHIV not reach after 3 phone attempts on different days or times, so they not agree to come, or PLHIV did not return within 7 days of due date or mutually agreed date, right? Then care support center staff to track all patients who are missed LFU via continued phone calls and home visits. A phone call sometimes it is a problem because quite often patients, they change their number and sometimes they, change the number and put it switch off mode and they don't respond to that. I think there is a need to again renew and review the phone call, the contact numbers whenever they visit the center. Document attempts, contacts in tracker format and share with data manager of the ART center. Definite outcomes, whether returned back to the ART, died, opted out, transferred out, to be documented in the inventory management system and the master line list, like white card also. Indefinite outcomes, if the status remains LFU after tracking report, further follow-up to be done as per the details in the tab. So we are also trying very hard to track the missed appointments, the LFUs in the missed cases. So let us go for a poll 7, poll 7. For PLHIV who are tracked back after being lost to follow, when should viral load test should be done? So we start now.
Kiran sir, can we have the e-poll, please? Thank you.
I think 67% got number C. That is after 3 months of ART initiation and enhanced adherence council, viral loss test should be done. That is the result. Okay. So, yeah, LFU rearrangement more than 1/3 PLHI will become LFU again. It's more than 1/3. So this is the data. Return to treatment 4,430 and March 73% they retain, 68% they retain. So it is worth the effort because 70%, 73% of them would be retained. It's not a mean figure. 68% would be retained, 69. So this is a good figure. So we must try to endeavor, we must try as much as possible to bring back the LFU patients and then try to retain them in the program. Management of PLHIV who are tracked back to care after being lost to follow-up. Track back PLHIV, this will answer the question. The poll number 7, track back PLHIV after being lost to follow-up should be offered ESC and viral load should be done after 3 months of ESC, irrespective of adherence level and previous viral load set. This is very, very clear. If viral load is more than 1,000 copies, that is unsuppressed, we take it, then ESC should be continued for another 3 months while simultaneously addressing the barriers to treatment adherence. I think this is very, very clear. So the key points, ladies and gentlemen, PLHIV newly initiated on ART, viral load testing should be done at 6 months and 12 months respectively and annually thereafter. This is what we call as first line. For those on second and third line, viral loss should be done every 6 months, very clear about it. Pregnant ladies, we have to think about the infant, the chance of infection, U is called to U. Viral load testing should be confirmed again during this period of time, 32 to 36 weeks of pregnancy, regardless of the duration of the antiretroviral therapy or the previous viral load schedule, because if the viral load is suppressed, the chance of infection transmission to the baby is very, very less. Track back LFU cases should be offered enhanced adherence counseling. Adherence is very, very important at any level of engagement in terms of the patients getting the antiretroviral therapy. And viral load tests should be done after the 3rd month of ESC, irrespective of adherence level and previous viral load schedule. And for those PLHIV with unsuppressed viral load should undergo enhanced adherence counseling by the counselor for 3 consecutive months. If adherence is more than 95% in each of the 3 consecutive months, then viral load test should be repeated after 3 months of ESC. If the adherence is less than 95% in any month during the enhanced adherence counseling number 1, 3 additional months of ESC needs to be conducted through a different counselor under the supervision of the ARTMO or the SMO. Then viral load test should be done after 3 months of ESC2, irrespective of adherence level. Very, very clear. After ESC1 and ESC2, if repeat viral load is more than 1,000 copies per ml, then refer the case for such a review where complete evaluation, consultation from all perspectives, comorbid condition, clinical context, and then barriers of adherence should also be done during such a to avoid unnecessary switch. So that is again there. So thank you very much. I think with this, I would like to again re-emphasize that it is not only the figure of 1,000 that determines everything, as we have seen in that slide. So a good number of these patients can be avoided unnecessary early switch of the regime. So correct, appropriate, and timely interpretation of the viral load report ultimately matters in the management of antiretroviral therapy. So thank you very much. I have taken more time. I apologize for that 10 minutes extra I have taken. Thanks once again, everyone, for the patient hearing.
Thank you so much, sir, for the detailed session. Any questions from the participants? Please feel free to unmute. Any questions from the participants? You can unmute or you can put your questions in the chat box. So I don't think there are any questions. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to all the participants for patient listening. We'll conclude the session now.